So, for those of you just tuning in, you're listening to La Onda Bajita Special, a traditional healers forum from the four corners of the world. My co-host is David Kukkola, and we are talking about the subject of burnout. And we also have wonderful guest Teya Valentina here, and she is fantastic. She's a healer, and she works with women and empowers them through dance. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about what you use to help the people move forward.
Hi, it's nice to be here. Happy spring, everybody.
Happy spring.
Beautiful. So I love listening to everything that's just been said, and I know what burnout is. I can feel it when it's in my body, and I think for women, we're somewhat trained to, especially nowadays, to want to hold it all together and make sure we look really good while we're doing it. And so there's stretching going on that I haven't seen before, where it's this sense of, what's the role of woman, and being the provider, being the nurturer, being the wanting to make sure that everything's handled, and part of that is wanting to control everything as well, because there's this sense in our nervous systems that we don't feel safe. And so then why don't we feel safe? How do we get back to feeling safe? And that's connecting to our body. And a lot of times we then want to make sure everything outside of ourselves is in order so that we can feel safe, and we want to control things, versus coming back and feeling connected to our own physiology and the rhythms in our bodies, whether we're maiden, a young woman who has not had her menses yet, or her moon, as we call it, or if we are in the mother, whether you have a physical child or not, in the mother years or in the crone years, there's a sense of how to connect to the rhythm of our physiology, which is that we have a womb. And we have this connection to the elements so deeply. We are secular creatures as women. And I know men have their own secular nature. And we are very connected, all humans are, to the moon and the water element, and how the moon pulls the ocean tides. And for women to be able to become in touch with the elements in nature, wherever you live, whether there's cement under your feet. I've said this in the last programs. I've called out to you women, wherever you're at right now, look out, where's the moon? Mm-hmm. Then breathe. Bring the breath into your body, feel your heart. There's new data now, and thank goodness this science is matching some of the indigenous life ways that we have known, which is our heart. It's this thinking capacity in the heart. There's the electromagnetic field of the heart thinks. There's a thinking element. And we don't think with just the gray and white matter. So if we bring that breath into our heart as women, and then bring it down into the womb, the water heart that I call it, we women have two hearts. We have a water heart in our womb, a feeling heart that's secular, that moves through, and when we have our menses and we have our period or our moon, then we have an opportunity to not go loco or loca, to not go into lunacy with it, but to actually ride the wave of deep intuition. And when we are in that cycle, I know we have to work and put the bread on the table. Sometimes I know what that's like. I understand that. And yet how do we do it where maybe we trust something bigger than having to say yes to that next thing and stretch ourselves to the point of breaking and burnout? And saying, okay, I'm going to pull in a little bit because I know my moon is coming. Or if we're not sure, start writing it down, getting in tune with what our cycles are. So I think, there's a sense of connecting to the elements, connecting to our womb, connecting to the cycles. And that in and of itself, we can take responsibility for our own burnout and not become victims.
So what I'm hearing you say is that for you as women, that a big element of this burnout is a disconnection from the natural element, the grandmother, the moon, and this womb that lives inside of us that sort of feeds these waters that are circulating and doing their little dance. And in that absence of relationship, something goes amiss with you?
Well, there's a sense of, the generation and ahead of me or behind me, I'm going to be 47 in April. And the generation, the women, they worked hard to get certain rights. And in that, my perception, because I have many female clients from this generation, is that they, instead of finding out what is their own masculine energy, every male or female, in my perspective, has a feminine and a masculine, so a night and a day, a yin and a yang. This may sound like new concepts to some people, but there's a sense of, we have a sense of moving forward, and that's the yang, moving forward, okay, listening to your intuition and then acting forward. Well, there was a sense of moving forward by replicating what we saw in men. And our physiology cannot match men. We do not have testosterone running through us like you all do.
Mm-hmm.
So what I have witnessed is the generation before worked really hard to get things handled and done. And now I'm seeing the women in their 30s, even 20s, going back to almost that opposite polarity. And I'm in the middle watching these two generations on either side of me. And the younger women I'm noticing are pulling in a little bit, maybe staying home because they want to, if they can, or making it work, choosing simpler lives. So I'm seeing some of that happen. And then I'm also seeing the powerhouse women, trying to find new ways to find what is their way of having their power and what does that mean to them and why, what's motivating them to have power. And is it to be able to have freedom? Because one reason we burn out is we're working extra hard. We still don't get paid as much as men for the work we do. And women are right now more educated than men. So, there's this sense of, if I'm speaking the woman's voice, I tend to usually not go men, women. I have two beautiful sons. I've been married for 20 years. I love the masculine. I'm very comfortable. But most of my clients are women. 98%.
It's maybe there's a piece in here, and maybe we talk about this a little bit, but earlier in the show, Bruce Elijah, the Oneida Clan of the Iroquois Confederation, he talked about their creator. And they don't call it a god, but a creator, because in their culture, in their village, the creator's feminine, is matriarchal.
That makes sense.
And so that the leaders of the village are the women, is that water that you're talking about. And is it possible that in our modern world, this word burnout is that patriarchal energy, that masculine dominant energy that is burning out? And so maybe there's another side to this whole word of burnout. Maybe we are burning out, and maybe on a certain level, if we understand it from another perspective, it needs to burn out so that feminine energy, that nurturing energy, can come back and bring some balance to a world. I mean, we got global warming. I mean, this place is burning up. It's burning out. And so maybe we're moving into that direction you're talking about, Teya, where maybe we as men need to, pull back on the reins here and turn it over.
Well, there's a sense of honoring the masculine and what does that word even mean? I always love speaking about, what is that word? Masculine, feminine. I like to think of it as, there's the moon. It has a receptive pulling quality. Women's physiology is made that way, so feminine. The sun is more of a masculine. So fire. And yet we, within ourselves, I'm very fiery. I find that I have quite a bit of masculine energy, and that's part of my makeup, whether it's through what I felt in my own mother's womb. But I see that, and I have to work with it as a double-edged sword, like when to pull in and how far to move out, And so what I've also witnessed is men wanting to, in Marin County especially, that's, the demographic where I'm in, is I'm seeing men that are reading different books and wanting to become educated and to own the feminine. They're dismasculating themselves. I don't know how to say it. It's like how to feel, what does that feel like to be in one's body when that testosterone's running through you and you are that male, and not feel ashamed or bad just because of what the outside has shown it's done, a misuse of power. Don't throw the power down, but how to use it in the right way. So because there's something about, stand with that backbone and yet still hold the receptivity. And I sit and listen to you all, and I hear it in the tone of your voices. And one thing else I wanted to discuss was about the teens. Is this a good time to do that?
Yeah, okay. This is, we're talking with Teya Valentina here on the Traditional Healers Forum from the four corners of the world on La Onda Bajita tonight. We have also Rob Allbee, Francis Weller, and Bruce Elijah with us, being co-hosted here with one of my best friends, Norma LaBrava. She holds us all together. She's the glue. So thank you for being the glue, Norma.
I'm glad to be the glue. I love you guys a lot.
And so we've been sort of going round table here from just some different perspectives of burnout, what it means. And we're talking now with Teya Valentina Chavez. She does her healing work in Marin County. And she has been talking to us about not only the moon cycle within the woman and that need to, how much control am I using or misusing, and where do I claim that fire, and also how do men claim that good fire inside of them. And so not that we're not talking about spineless men. And so how do these two energies come out, and how does that play into burnout? I mean, how does that play out? Does it play out by a man trying to be too much carrying too much water? I mean, where does that come in, Teya?
Well, there's a sense of pulling in, if that's the question. What I've witnessed in men is if you pull in and don't feel one's fire, well, if you pull in, it's almost like, well, then there's no fire either. Burn out, if that's where we're playing with the word. So then it is this sense of not being able to activate in one's life and feel who you really are and speak versus, and so there's a passivity that gets created, and then aggressive. So that underpinning, and that cycle wears on the adrenals, that cycle wears on the organs. These emotional mental cycles wear on your physiology, We think we can, even our thinking cycles.
So we can burn out by not claiming the fire.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And we can burn out by using too much fire. So again, I think, are you talking balance now?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the dance. And, the first body of work that I ever brought through was called Reclaiming Our Bodies Awake. And it was a program back in the early 90s for women recovering from eating disorders. And it came from my own recovery from really extreme bulimia. And, that's extreme burnout, because you're smiling and acting like it's all okay. And you're out in that world and you just are all together, and yet you're killing yourself. It's instead of going out and hurting somebody else and being violent outward, it's an implosion versus the explosion. And there's something there with that with women, is that, it's we burn out by trying to be perfect. We burn out by wanting to have it all together, and that isolation, I had that on my list as well, is that we isolate as women, and we need to stop doing that. And I think I'm going to call us out, those that have, I don't, there's certain things where there's a stoic being brought up if you come from immigrant family sometimes, where the rest of the family's in another country, and that was my case, and I witnessed it, where you're just independent and you're needing to hold it together, and you tend to keep your distance sometimes from other women, and women, we need to come together. And that's my practice. This life is coming together with other women. And I'm really comfortable doing it when I'm in charge. How to do it when I'm just with other women and I'm not like being the leader. Oof. And then secondly is, the practice that I've had for the past 15, 20 years is soul sanctuary. So it's that place where people's souls are weary. And so just show up, hang out, lie down on the table, breathe. Let's be together. People go, well, what do you do? Let's be together.
When you say the soul is weary, some people might go, what are you talking about?
Okay, perfect. So my sense is there's something that animates us, that's warm. Like when we reach out for each other's hands, there's a warmth quality. There's a connection. It's soul, to me, is also connected to the arts. So it's like the poetry, the dance, the expression, the food that has been ensouled with love, So if you have a hard time with that word, just go to love, go to heart. So it's a place you can, if your heart is weary, you show up and just be together.
Is it a sense of self? Is that what you're talking? An inner sense of yourself?
Could be. Could be. To me, I didn't call it spirit sanctuary. That's a little different. And I love words because I love playing with, what is the vibration of the word? Logos. And that's a whole other conversation. My degree's in speech communications, and I love the word.
Good.
So that's another show.
We're heading in the right direction.
But soul is warmth.
Okay.
Circulation. We have oxygen machines, and if someone's brain dead, we can keep their body afloat. But can we enliven them? And so some people are coming in and they're kind of like that. They're not enlivened. They're burnt out. And so you come and, I might have like a sweet little cup of tea or some sweet music or some hot stones, put on your heart. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's like coming home.
So that for me, it's what I'm hearing you say, or what it's reminding me of, is when somebody says something that really touches me inside. I can't really locate it, but it touches me inside. that which it touches is what I call my soul.
Beautiful. Great.
Yeah.
I love like not having answers and going, okay, so what does it mean to you?
Mm-hmm.
What does that word mean? Does it make you cringe because you have old memories from like some religious upbringing that you no longer embody? Well, perhaps you're going to bring it to present time, and maybe there was pieces of that you want to reclaim and not throw it all away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we have antipathy to something with a word, because it was used in a way that reminds us of something, then.
Mm-hmm.
So burnout.
Yes.
Teens, can I just wrap
Please.
it up?
Yep.
My son's going to be 13 in April, 4 days before my birthday. And I wrote a little note because what I've noticed is this is a lot of times when parents kind of check out because it gets hard. And it means that our higher self or some part of ourselves that maybe never actually got awake needs to wake up really fast. If it hasn't yet, fast track it. And what I've noticed is I need to be available and around. Just available and around and see what comes up.
Mm-hmm.
So just see how I can create my schedule so I'm available and around. And if it's by phone, you know, he called me here when I was out in the studio and he said, Dad's been gone for hours. And I said, well, actually, he left and he went to pick up your brother and he's going to be back. And it's been about 45 minutes. How are you doing? Fine? Good, you know. So there's something about being present and just allowing moments to arrive and being available to your teen so they do not get burnout.
That's wonderful. We've been talking to Teya Valentina Chavez. She's out in Marin County, and this has been the Traditional Healers Forum from the Four Corners of the World on La Onda Bajita here tonight. We want to thank you for all listening. It's always a pleasure for us to get together. We get together every 3 months, and we cover a wide array of issues that are present in today's world. This past year, we've talked about diabetes. We've went around the horn on depression, and we've also talked about the importance of gratitude in our ceremonies and how that can help in this healing process. We want to continue making this a your program, and for it to be your program, we need to hear from you. We want you to send me an email at dksaami@mac.com. Send us your issues, your concerns. We want to answer those on this program. Our next show is going to be live here in the studio, so we will be taking questions. And the next show is going to be Friday, June 22nd from 8 to 10 p.m. again on the La Onda Bajita program. Clay Schmitz, our video producer, he's been so wonderful, supportive of us, and has been video recording these shows and now archiving them. You can listen to all last year's shows at www.livingmedicines.com, and you'll see our programs archived there. He's also put them on YouTube. You can go to youtube.com/Healers Forum, and you can watch the different segments of our program. If you want to hear those good words from Teya, there will be a segment on her. If it's for Rob, each one, the segments are all divided into each one of our different speakers, and so you can really listen to those, and you can contact them, and they'd love to hear you too. And so maybe, Teya, if people want to contact you, could you give us contact information?
I would love people to contact me, and I'm available at Teya, Teya, at TeyaValentina.com. So it's TEYA and then at TeyaValentina.com. And a 24-hour voicemail that goes directly to voicemail is 415-451-7187.
And Rob, how can people contact you and the Inside Circle Foundation?
They can just go to the website at insidecircle.org. You can get a hold of me at my last name, Allbee, ALLBEE, at insidecircle.org, or just info@insidecircle.org. So either way.
I want to thank everybody for coming tonight and sharing. And I guess before we wrap things up, we want to thank everybody. I want to thank El Gavilan and Mr. Chooch for engineering. And I really want to thank you, David, for bringing us together here and reminding our listeners that there is a better way and that we do just need to choose to follow that.
Mm-hmm. And so those last words we want to leave you with is lean on somebody. We all need each other. We need to break away from this isolation, these fences we built and these doors that we've locked. We got to open our hearts to each other. We got to come back together as a families, as communities, as a nation, as peoples. We got to reclaim our heritages, our languages, and our ceremonies. We need to speak those good words of gratitude. We need to say a big thank you to Chooch for all that beautiful work that he's been doing for us, because today was quite a challenge. Thank you, Chooch.
Thank
We
you,
love you,
Chooch.
Mr. Chooch.
And so
You're welcome.
So with that, this is David Kukkola and Norma LaBrava at La Onda Bajita saying good night to all of you. A big hug, a big arms around you.
Buenos noches, buenos noches.
So we'll be talking to you soon.